My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content. Welcome back, everybody. Today, we've got a special guest zooming in all the way from the GTA for our American friends. That means Toronto, Canada. We've got a very experienced real estate entrepreneur. He's an investor himself, very active. He is a broker. He is an author. He is a coach. We've got Mr. Paul D'Abruzzo. Paul, how are you doing today? Welcome.
Very good, very good. We're hustling. Weather's good. Can't complain. I'm excited to talk to you and your guests.
Yeah, likewise. So Paul has recently written a new book for Canadian real estate investors called the 2024 Canadian Real Estate Investor Playbook, The Secrets to Thriving in Any Market, which is really important because a lot of people are scared spitless in our market here today, especially in Paul's neck of the woods in Ontario. You know, it's just been go, 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 go. So for so many years, people were not accustomed to higher interest rates, or what some of us old folks call normal interest rates. They're not accustomed to prices not going up all the time. So Paul, what are some of the challenges that you've seen some of your clients, the people you know, other people in the real estate market facing these days?
Yeah, I think most people who started investing in the last decade were just used to, like you said, the market only doing this, only going in one direction, and interest rates really put a clamp on that, and a lot of people who were not using the cash flow formulas and the foundational principles of real estate investing really got hurt in the last few years as interest rates increased. Most notably the people who started with pre-construction investing and who doubled down and tripled down on many pre-construction projects, which in my view, I consider more of a speculation than investing. And those with rental properties who were cash flow neutral or negative at lower interest rates are now in a world of hurt. And even people who have good, solid cash flowing portfolios, cash flow has dried up. At least they had the room to absorb it with the higher interest rates. But all of those people are just handcuffed or really feel conflicted because they can't predict the future. They don't know what's going to happen in the next 3 months with rates or the market or whatever. And it's a lot of stagnation. So we wrote this book to help people become unstuck, to look at the data clearly, and to make moves, because you can only sit on your hands for too long. I know it's natural for humans who are confused to just simply say no and don't do anything, and that's fine for a while. But when you're managing a portfolio of 2, 3, 5, 10 properties, you can only stand pat for so long. So you got to pivot, and that's what the book is for.
So what are you seeing some people pivoting to? Let's say it's a traditional buy and hold type investor. They've got a few single family homes or, suited properties or whatnot they were doing all right when times were good. Maybe they were a little bit cash flow positive. Now they're flat or they're negative. What do you see these kind of folks pivoting to or focusing on these days, Paul?
Yeah. There's sort of three categories of people, and one being the beginner who's hasn't got started or just got started more recently. There's that group of people who have a few rental properties who are doing okay, and there's people who have multiple rental properties and multiple projects going on who are very experienced. And I would say those people in the middle are the most conflicted, the most. Because they built up some equity, they had some cash flow, now they're cash flow neutral, and they're like, what do I do? Do I sell it? Do I keep it?
Or they're cash flow negative, probably. If
They might even be,
yeah,
they might even be cash flow negative at this point. And they really don't know they believe in real estate. They know real estate over the long term does well, but they're having trouble eating the short term costs in the short term.
yeah.
So my advice to those people were to look at everything as a whole from bird's eye view, and look at the next 24 months rather than worrying about over the next 3 months. And I'll give you an example, because that sounds like cheesy advice. But if your property was positive $200 a month, and now it's negative $200 a month. And let's take a look at the next 3 years.
Mhm.
Well, being negative $200 a month means $2,400 a year. And times 3 years, that's what, $6,600.
Yeah,
And I think if you're a real estate investor in that position, you can probably find $6,600. And,
I would
and,
hope
and
so.
I would hope so,
Yeah.
right? If you got good advice and you had a good realtor and good advisors, etc. We won't go there. But I would suggest, so you sleep at night, take $6,600, put it in your bank account, sleep, get a good night's sleep, relax. Second, talk to people who have been through this before and who know what they're doing, because they can show you, never mind tell you, they can show you what's working now. And at the very least, stabilize what you have going on. And then it's time to look inward and say, what assets and equity and liquid assets do I have to either keep investing or to shore up other parts of my finances? And if they go through that exercise or those two exercises, it just it's just
Yeah.
a deep, and they feel like they're in control again.
Let's take a little bit deeper look at that, Paul, because that's very good advice. So, for example, if you've got that property that's now negative 200,
Mhm.
also take a look at, okay, well, what's going on with the market? Like, are these kind of properties going down in value? Are they maintaining their value? Are they going up just a lot slower than before? How much is your mortgage actually getting paid down every single month, right? So chances are, if you've had it for a while, you're actually paying down your mortgage, or your tenants are paying down your mortgage more than $200 a month. So you might not be as negative as you think you are. What are some other
You're
things?
100% correct. And but it's funny, I didn't even mention equity, because some people in this position who are negative $200 a month have 50% equity. The
Yeah,
property might be worth five, six, seven, 800,000, and they might be carrying a 50% mortgage. But yet the $200 a month, it burns a hole in their chest when they're, or their brain, when,
yeah,
before they go to bed at night. And that's the maintenance of the portfolio is where, it makes all the difference in the world. So we once you've got everything under control and you can sleep at night, the following step is, like I said, is to look inwardly and find out where your equity is. Like, do I have 50% equity here? Is this property, do you foresee this property to continue to appreciate at it was, or at least at a fair pace at 3 to 5% a year? Is that going to happen?
hmm,
And if not, when does it make sense to sell? When does it make sense to refi? And how do we use the equity you've already built to get you toward your goal? Right. And I find at that point, once you ask that question, people really look at their goals again. They're like, oh, I haven't looked at my goals in 3 years. They're different than what they are today. I had another baby.
yeah,
My kids moved out. I got a new job. I might want to move to Mexico or Costa Rica,
exactly.
which a lot of people are doing. So I find if you clear it's like trying to walking into a garage that's really messy, trying to find something. If you organize everything first, then you can start putting the pieces together. So it's getting the stress away and then reorganizing the portfolio to work better for you. That's been the best exercise for those people kind of in the middle.
Now, what about your advice for some folks that are really kind of really in pain? Like negative $200 a month ain't that bad, but there are people that are negative thousands of dollars a month. Geez, I was talking to one gentleman months ago who got caught up with a bunch of those pre-construction condo deals. Now they've all come to fruition. Now, like the poor bugger is literally, I think it was negative $12,000 a month between several different condos that were sitting vacant. Yeah, it was just like a nightmare. So maybe not that extreme, but people that are really in kind of rough waters, what kind of advice do you have for them?
Yeah, in those extreme situations, I mean, there is no easy answer. You
No.
need to liquidate and you need to liquidate and crystallize your loss. If you're going to lose 100 grand or 300 grand, you're better to lose it now than 3 years from now.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah. Deal with
You
it
can at
now.
least recover.
Yeah. Rip
Deal
rip
with
the
it
band-aid
now
off now. Yeah.
because you have time to recover. Right? Sitting with it, in bed at night and for the next 3 years isn't going to make it any better unless you expect. If you're in a big market like a Calgary or Vancouver or Toronto, you expect things to recover. That's a different scenario, right? But if you
Yeah.
don't, or things are going to stagnate, then you need to rip off the
or
band-aid.
that negative's just going to drag you so far down that you're going to drown like this poor guy. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So reevaluating things. What are you seeing for newbies? What about people that are just thinking about getting into the market? Now they're sitting on their hands because they got that they feel like they've missed out on the good old days in the
I
heyday.
just made a video about this on YouTube and I got really angry on purpose. Because I'm talking to that younger generation. I'm 38 and I'm talking to people, 30 years old or younger. I'm going to use a GTA scenario because it's the most extreme. So you'll get these conversation like, oh, you were the lucky one. You had an opportunity. Or yeah, my time sucks. Everything's too expensive. And just things like that, just piles of excuses. And my answer to them is like, hey, dude, like it wasn't that easy. I grew up in Toronto. I had to drive an hour and 15 minutes to Hamilton just to afford my first property.
Mm-hmm.
I made sacrifices. All I hear from you is excuses. I don't hear solutions. And then I give them a solution and I see what their reaction is. You work in Toronto, you work in the city, I get it. You need to live in the city in order to work and function with your friends and your life and your career and your work and all that good stuff. Good for you. Why not buy a property in St. Catharines or Hamilton or Brantford or Barrie? Don't move there, rent it out. Keep renting in the city. Now you have the best of both worlds. You don't need to live in the property in order to enter the market. And even if Hamilton or God knows where some secondary or tertiary market is not where you want to end up, at least while you're working, you can start building equity
Mm-hmm.
because you're never going to save faster than the market appreciates over a period of time.
True.
Maybe the next couple of years, but over 10 years, you lose every time.
Mm-hmm.
So in order to save for a bigger house, you need to be in the game because that's the best way to save. Period. The end in Canada. Just look at the data. Then I pull out data, and then they don't know what to say anymore.
Well, they'll still
Right?
come up with they'll still come up with excuses. They just won't throw them by you. That's all.
Yeah, yeah. They'll just curse me, or they'll be like, "Okay, you're right." But the point is that for the young people, you have to make a sacrifice to find your way into the market. My sacrifice, as stupid as it sounds, was I grew up in Toronto. Toronto's a place to be. Yeah, yeah, yeah. All these people, and then I had to go to Hamilton, which was at the time in 2009, 2010, literally considered the armpit of Toronto or of Ontario. It was like Buffalo and Hamilton were like on the same conversation range, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You can imagine my family and friends are just laughing at me, but I had to do what I had to do to get in the market. And you need to have the same attitude. You need to get in. If you don't get in, you're just screwed before you ever start. So you
yeah.
need to do something.
Good advice. All right, so now let's take a look at that third category, the people that are have fairly large portfolios. What challenges and what solutions are you seeing for those folks, Paul?
Yeah, those people are more thoughtful because they've been in the game longer. So they can do the stabilization and almost a reorganization on their own. What I find with them is that they get stuck on what to do next. Because the market was so good for so long, it was like, what do we do next? Well, we'll just get another property. Just get
Mm-hmm.
another property. Just get another property. Just do another deal. Just do a development. Just do a burr. Just do a basement conversion, whatever. Just do some new strategy.
Yeah.
And now that a lot of the strategies have fallen out of favor just because interest rates and the numbers just don't work at the moment, they're confused. They're like, okay, how do I keep this thing going? My portfolio has been giving me so much in my lifestyle. My family's living off the portfolio. I'm going on big vacations. I got a nice car. Like, I want to keep this thing going. And
Mm-hmm.
they're having to get uncomfortable again where they've been comfortable for so long. We do a fair bit of development projects, and that's been a big conversation with some advanced people. They're like, okay, hey, Paul, how do I get into development projects like you? Because we've been, I don't want to say insulated, but more insulated against what's been going on. We're still able to make a fair amount of profit.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some people who are simply reassessing where they want to invest. Like, okay, I've done well here. Maybe I've lost a little equity in the last couple of years, but I built up 5 million in equity. Maybe I only have 4 million now with the market came down. Why don't I take $1 million of that equity and go to Costa Rica or the US or some other market. And you have people exploring different options, but they need to find a way to access their equity in a, you know,
Cost-effective
in a
manner.
decent way without over leveraging. Yeah, without over leveraging themselves. Exactly. And that's been the conversation with those sort of more advanced people. So, you know, some of those people I've done a lot more coaching with, where some of the beginners and let's just say intermediate type investors, it's been what I call more mentorship and counsel. Like, hey, like there's another way. Like there's more than two paths here. Like you got time. Just take a deep breath and relax, and we'll see the way forward.
So what are some of the opportunities that you are seeing as a realtor, as an active investor, as somebody that works with people? What
Mhm.
are the opportunities that you're seeing in this market at this time?
Yeah, we've returned to traditional investing. You know, cash flow. Believe it or not, there are still deals, and they're all multifamily type deals that cash flow. So I'm talking duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, and larger. And those, not all of them, of course, but for the most part, if we're finding cash flowing deals, 9 out of 10 times it's in that category. And you have to go. You can't have emotion about the property. It doesn't matter what it looks like or what color the bricks are. It matters what the income is now, what it could be in the future,
Mm-hmm.
how much money do I have to spend to improve it or not? Just very black and white traditional stuff that's super boring, but it works.
Yeah,
And
steady Eddie.
we're able to acquire some of these assets for much less than what we were paying in 21 and 22 and 23. We're back to sort of in some, depending what market we're in, sort of 2019 to 2021 pricing, which is
A little
fantastic.
bit of a it's turning around a bit, becoming a bit more of a buyer's market. Is that what I'm hearing? In certain
More
areas.
balanced.
Yeah, more
Yeah, where
balanced.
it is much more balanced. Yeah. And you know, on pricing, like when you look at a graph, the prices come down or come up, but it always depends on where you measure from.
Mm-hmm.
So we had an insane peak in 2022, basically across Canada,
Yeah.
right? In that first half. So if you cut that peak off, it doesn't look that bad, to be honest. It just looks like
Exactly.
we lost a year. If you minus out a year there, we're doing okay.
We're doing okay. It's just that everybody has that stuck in their head, right? They have the
The
peak
stigma.
stuck in their head, like that should be the norm when it was really an exception.
Correct. And I want you to give this advice to every single person who comes on this podcast is stop listening to the news every day.
Mm-hmm.
Stop taking advice from social media. People are they're just mild entertainment, and the news is not trying to help you. I think we all know that by now, right?
I
Let's
hope
just
so.
not even. So,
Never has. I mean, that's the
correct.
same advice for the last 40 years, 100
Correct,
years for crying
correct.
out loud. Yeah.
Which is why I wrote the book. Because it's one thing for me to talk about it because I'm biased. Obviously, I'm in the industry. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. I can help you do a lot of things, and you know, I mean, this is how I make money and put food on the table. But like, read the book. The data's there.
Yeah.
Tell me I'm lying. I'd love to have a conversation with you, right? So that was the whole point. So that's kind of why I wanted to share with everybody.
Well, that's awesome. So if people want to get the book, Paul, and they want to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, expertinvestoracademy.com/playbook. You
Just
can
that
enter your
easy.
name and email there. You'll get a copy of the book, PDF, read it, print it out, make notes, tell me I'm crazy, go on my YouTube, you say, hey, you're nuts. I love fighting with those people in the comments. It's great.
Great. Awesome, Paul. Well, hey, thanks very much for being on the show and sharing some insights, some wisdom, and some hope, right? Because, a lot of people are scared. They don't know where to go. They don't think there's any opportunities. The sky's falling down. That's not true. These are the kind of times where the astute real estate investors actually see a
Right.
lot of opportunities. It's it's just like every kind of market cycle. This is the time that stuff is finally starting to the prices are starting to make sense again. So don't look at it as a negative, look at it as a positive. If you are in negative cash flow in properties right now, don't freak out. Take Paul's advice, step back, take a breath, see where see where it really lies. Are you still doing okay if you take into account market appreciation at a regular rate, if you still take into account mortgage pay down, if you take into account all the different profit centers, maybe you're not as bad off as you think you are. Awesome,
Right.
Paul. Thanks for being on the show, my friend.
Thank you, Dave.
All right, everybody, take care, and we will see you on the next episode. Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now, at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.